Bosnia are beginning to emerge from a period of conflict that lasted just 3 years, not 30. But as the group were about to find out, the impact of those 3 years was devastating.
The first thing that struck me, I expected it to be bombed, but it wasn't. It had just been raked with gunfire. Every building had bullet holes in it. The next thing, graveyards, cemeteries, unbelievable. The graveyards were just one on top of each other literally, and the headstones were so close. I couldn't believe it. I mean, 10,000 people killed in 1 month, 8,000 of them civilians. The graveyards, they were just right in the middle of the town itself, and the houses all around it. And I just couldn't believe it, the graveyards where they had them. You know, they were massive, and the houses were just on top of each other. The actual graveyards of the children, and the wee children that, you know, were put to death and things like that, you know, and then there's no children in that country now either.
That leaves an indelible mark upon the minds and the mentality of the communities out there, and of course there's going to be another generation before that hurt is healed, before that wound is healed.
One of the most poignant visits was to the International Commission on Missing Persons. Nearly 30,000 people are missing in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and for their relatives, the only hope of tracing their fate lies mainly in DNA testing the remains found in mass graves.
You could actually feel what was going through people's minds, wondering, you know, have they got my son, have they got my brother, whatever. And it was really hard to comprehend. I mean, they had analysed 60,000 photographs of these people. These numbers they didn't just register with me at all. I couldn't believe it.
For those left behind, life is still far from easy. There is a small wealthy sector, but corruption is rife, and so is poverty. Women have a particularly tough time. 57% are unemployed, and 28% illiterate.
The healthcare is just, it's awful. I mean, we don't know how lucky we are. You know, we just take it for granted that we go to the doctors, we get a prescription, and that's it. There's no healthcare. I mean, young mothers are just expected just to be able to provide, and it's awful. You look about, and you know, the population there, the amount of people missing is just horrendous. You don't see very many young people. It's either very young or quite older people. There's nobody sort of in and around my age, 23, 24. You just, like here, you know, they'll be going out and drinking. There's nothing like that in Sarajevo. Like there's nothing.
A sad ending then to this psychological voyage across frontiers. But clearly many lessons have been learned too. So what message will the group be bringing back to their own communities?
I think people should be grateful for what we have here. You know, really, really grateful.
It didn't really impact me until I came home. You know, I took my, you know, the trip home with me, and then, you know, whenever, like, for instance, going to the doctors, you know, they couldn't afford to do that. You know, the education, you know, there was just so little education, especially for girls.
Even yet, I keep telling people, you know, we have to be thankful for what we have when they're moaning and groaning about something, like, you know. I say, well, you go out to Bosnia and you see what's out there like for you. I think if a few more people could actually see it, we saw this on TV before, but it didn't have the same impact. I think if a lot more people saw actually what had happened out there, people would be a lot more tolerant towards each other.
You know, we have a great country here, and people would only realise that we have a great country.
So, at the end of it all, can the Across Frontiers project count itself a success?
I think it's been very successful. I think it's been a journey for the people who have been on the programme. They've had to look at their past, they've had to look at the conflict, they've had to see where they are now, and there's been a lot of change in Northern Ireland, and a lot of work has been done at political level, but not so much at the individual level. And I think people now need to take the onus on themselves to do more in terms of working at a community level and also at individual level. There'll be people on this programme who will be able to go into their own community and explain to people how far we have emerged from the conflict, and I just think that it has opened people's minds to what we have achieved.